First off, I'd like to take the time to apologize for the long absence on my part. It's been 3 months since my last video. I was dealing with personal issues and needed to get my hands on a new program to use for my videos. After things finally calmed down a little, I was able to do just that. So for now on, expect moderate videos from me on the channel. I have a lot of things I want to talk about, so I'll be working extra hard to make up for the lost time. So, let's talk about an anime called Mahou Shoujo Ikusai Kaikaku, or in English, Magical Girl Raising Project. It aired during the fall of 2016 and managed to get some attention. It's another Magical Girl anime that is dark and gritty, following in the footsteps of such series as Madoka Magica and Yuhi Yuna. While it does take the same kind of premise from those series to an extent, it should be noted there are many differences between them. For starters, Raising Project follows what is known as a battle royale type plot, wherein a bunch of characters are forced into a massive death battle where only one person can make it out alive. This is a story idea that has been around for quite a while now, having been most recently popularized by the Hunger Games series. As for anime, we've seen many examples of this type of story done too, such as Batum or Mirai Nikki. It's a simple idea for a story. A group of characters are introduced only to be forced to murder one another. While this type of story can definitely be done well, it is also easy to screw up said theme. For one, these types of stories focus on a lot of characters, often jumping between them all as the story progresses, slowly lowering the number of protags until only the true main characters are left. While this can be a good way of showcasing the differences in personalities, struggles, and goals between the large cast of characters, can also result in poor character development. Since so many characters are being juggled back and forth, it's easy for many of the characters to be nothing more than one note, lacking a lot of depth that they would have if, say, they got more attention. Again, I'm not saying the Battle Royale style format is a bad idea for a story. It does allow for some unique, interesting ideas and character interactions. It forces drama, and allows for a lot of unique ways of approaching the plot. With that said, let's discuss Raising Project. Magical Girl Raising Project is an anime adaptation of a light novel of the same name. It focuses on a group of characters who, while all playing a popular Magical Girl mobile game, were chosen to become real Magical Girls, becoming their created characters from the game. The story primarily focuses on the main character of Snow White, a girl who has a deep love of the Magical Girl genre and all that it stands for. She is met with the game's mascot, Fav, who informs her she is now chosen to be a real Magical Girl. She is then formed in what will be the main backbone of the plot. Those who are chosen to become real Magical Girls are required to go out and help people. In doing so, they are rewarded with magical candy. Depending on how big the deed is, depends on the amount of candy they get. Likewise, we are informed that every Magical Girl gets a unique ability that they only possess, often stemming from their real life personalities. Now you might be thinking to yourself, hey, wait a minute, doesn't that sound an awful lot like another anime by the name of Accel World? Why yes it does. Well, the similarities do stop there for the most part between the two series. I do find it interesting how both use such a similar idea. As Magical Girls, they are required to keep doing good deeds and getting candies, and in return they get to keep being Magical Girls. If they don't keep up with the candies, they risk losing their Magical Girl form completely. While in Accel World, in order for people with brain bursts to be able to keep using the program that effectively lets them stop time, they must keep fighting other players or else they risk losing the program forever. See, the reason I bring this up is because it highlights a particular problem with Raising Project. It's not very unique. Most of what it does is pretty much entirely run-of-the-mill for the Battle Royale style of story. It honestly takes very few real risks for the most part and instead chooses to play things fairly straight, sticking to the genre like a glue that refuses to wash off. In doing so, it ends up being an honestly fairly unoriginal story. The characters, outside of a few, are mostly one note. You have the serious quiet type, you have the crazy one that loves killing, you have the poor innocent main character that is against violence, you have the one who is obsessed with being in charge and gathers a small following. There really isn't much uniqueness in the characters. They, for the most part, play their role as you'd expect. Once the death battle aspect of the story kicks in, things take a lot of obvious turns. An overly cute and likable character that had developed a close relationship with the main character is suddenly killed off because she had the least amount of candies, which then informs all the other characters that whoever is in last place in candies earned will die. Of course, this is meant to be a twist, as Fav, the overly cute, harmless looking pet-like thing that runs things, yeah, haven't seen that one before, simply says that they will lose their Magical Girl forms, only to later inform that he really meant they would die. The death of the girl, who was really only there to serve two reasons, one to die for the twist, and two to set up character development for another character that leads into a very bizarre chain of events, is what marks the true starting point of what the series really is. Once it goes into its death battle plot, things take a very predictable turn. Here is this character, here is this character's backstory. Okay, now on to the next character. Here is this character's backstory. This is their personality. Next. It does this throughout the rest of the series. One of the biggest offenders of the anime is that it's only 12 episodes long, but has a cast of 16 characters that they expect you to care about in one way or another. With such a massive roster of characters and only 12 episodes, 2 of which are there only to set up the basic premise, you are looking at more or less 10 episodes worth of time to make people care for all the characters. It's simply not possible. Characters and their motives, personalities, and backstories are crammed together into the 12 episodes as tightly as possible, giving very little room for actual character development to happen. Hell, by episode 4, a character who you thought would be one of the main protags is randomly killed off and then barely mentioned afterwards. Hell, they hardly even showcase Snow White mourning the loss, as after a hilariously short shot to a funeral, it simply cuts back to the usual. Yeah, Snow White does remain upset over this death, but it seems almost third note to the rest of what's going on. Characters drop left and right so quickly you barely get a chance to even care about them, which is a shame since there are a few unique characters here. Ruler has an interesting motive and backstory, and while she appears like a typical villain who is obsessed with controlling others, you do learn she is actually a nice person to an extent and cares for her group. Too bad she is randomly betrayed by Swim Swim, the character whose entire fucking motivation for pulling her bizarre 180 personality change was basically the first girl to die told her she could become a princess while in her dreams. Get used to this character, as she is the main antagonist from here on out. There is another character who is shown to be crazy and is actually built up as the big bad. They show that she's the reason this death battle is happening and they really build her up, only to, albeit in an awesome fucking way, randomly kill her off and return to focusing on Swim Swim, the 6-year-old psycho girl whose motivation for doing things is so baffling and bizarre I honestly don't even know what else to say about her. I won't go into too much more detail, but the series goes into full exploitation level silliness with its deaths. It throws as much shock value at you as it possibly can. From a girl who hangs herself, it may sure to hold the frame on her hanging body long enough to see urine pouring down her leg, nice, to a girl who is pregnant getting stabbed through the back and out her stomach, followed by a hilariously over-the-top scene of her pregnant body laying in a pool of blood with a baby guidebook next to her. Guess she just carries her book on how to raise babies everywhere with her. To a middle schooler getting brutally cut down in what I will admit is one of the best scenes in the anime, if not just by the sheer direction of the scene alone. Look, Magical Girl Raising Project isn't a terrible series by any means. Is it good? Maybe not, but it's not really bad either. It's got enough alright scenes and 1 or 2 decent characters in it to make it okay. However, the plot is as generic as they come, the setting has been done way better by other series, and it offers almost nothing unique enough to warrant really recommending. It's a generic as hell grimdark Magical Girl series with some alright characters and a few good scenes. That's really about it. Its animation is passable, its voice acting is alright, and its OST is just kinda generic. If you want to check it out, then feel free. However, I'd probably recommend you check out the LN instead, as it actually does turn into a fairly interesting story later on, and the light novel gives the characters more development. As always, I hope you enjoyed this video and its content. If so, please leave a like below, and if you have any opinions of your own, please by all means comment. I'd love to hear what you all have to say. As before, I want to mention these are simply my own personal opinions on the matter.